Hello, Claude. I think this is recording now, and great to see you.
Great
Under,
to see you
yeah,
remotely.
even under these circumstances, it's strange times for sure. But I'm chatting in my kitchen in Calgary. And where are you, Claude?
Well, I'm in Red Deer in the studio that Janet and I share. It's a little bit, it's so I look messier than you, but hopefully maybe I managed to pretend being more intellectual.
Well, you are, so don't worry about that. But I did warn you that if we went to my office currently, you might think I'm actually crazy. So it's in the middle of a move, my office, but we're
Oh, that's right. Yes.
we're trying to get it figured out. Anyway, great to see you and great to chat. So in these times, I mean, we were canceling concerts left and right, and there aren't any live events going on, but um, it made us with Luminous Voices think about what we could offer, what we could do in place of our concert coming up on Good Friday, April 10th. And we thought of our performance last year
Mhm.
of Bach St. John Passion. And it was a real incredible highlight for me musically to get the opportunity to work with the ensemble of Rosa Baraka and all these incredible artists. And I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit again about Rosa Baraka and the ensemble and what kind of sounds, what do you represent in Alberta?
Well, we're the first sort of stable, you could say, orchestra that plays on period Baroque instruments in Alberta. I found it about 3 years ago once I saw that, I'd been waiting for years basically to do this, but it was just a matter of having the right elements fall in front of me and then not hesitate. It's worked out very well. One of the reasons it worked out very well is because there is a very long and a very long tradition of vocal excellence in Alberta. A lot of really great choirs. There's some professional choirs, such as Luminous Voices, of really extraordinary quality. And I thought that the only way I could start the group was by being presented and by doing co-productions before we start having our own series. Eventually, we will have our own series. Right now, there's a nasty virus that's going to slow us down a little bit, but we keep our eyes on the prize. And among the collaborators, I would say that Luminous Voices is definitely highly prized. But we've also have done co-productions with Spiritus, also with you, and also with Voicecapes through Early Music Voices. And that's kept the group going. It's kept the group growing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd have to say that the St. John Passion was, well, without question, the biggest project that we had to co-produce and perform for, and it was a real highlight for all the musicians involved. I can tell you
Yeah, it's
that
great
that's
to
the
hear.
case. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't get a chance to do some of the large Bach masterpieces, but I know that you had done the B minor mass with the ensemble, so that was a really stunning performance as well. And the fact that you did it both in Red Deer and Calgary, but you've also performed Handel's Messiah many times, right? Tell us where you've taken that.
Yes, no, and we've even done it as a sing along too as well. So this is a wonderful thing because there's not that many sing-alongs with period instruments in Canada. There certainly are a few, but the fact that we've been able to do it twice now, and it looks like we're going to do it again next year, I think is a lovely thing to do. But also the nature of the performance of Messiah changes every time. So this year we did the one that corresponds to the first performance in London, for example. So changing arias and
Right.
changing performers and all of this. So we intend to keep those posts moving all the time when we deal with Messiah from year to year.
Hmm. Well, So back to Bach St. John, we did this last April, April 19th, and it was actually our first go at doing a performance on Good Friday,
Hmm.
which I've wanted to do for many years, get that going again in Calgary. So we wanted to really make a statement with a large work, and Bach St. John is one that I was familiar with from many different angles,
Hmm.
as having sung the evangelist part several times, and chorister, and never on keyboard, but that would be fun to do. Um, anyway, it was an amazing experience to work with Rosa Barocca because of also the textures and the sounds that we don't always get a chance to hear, and to actually have a performance with a gamba player and a lutenist. I mean, these are the other colors and textures that we don't often hear, and of course the early wind sounds, which are so much, you could say, somewhat more subdued, but I talk about how they have a vocal color that it does incredibly matches the voices that are around it too. Can you
Hmm.
comment at all about those colors and sounds?
Well, yeah, and I mean, definitely, like for the wind parts, Bach was always a proponent of the use of the oboe d'amore, so there's a warmth to it. But he also uses oboe da caccia, which is an instrument that no longer exists. Although the English horns got the same range, but it's the way it's built is so completely different. So there's a plangent quality that you can't get anywhere else. That's almost um, sometimes gorgeous, sometimes almost upsetting, depending of which part of the drama it is used in. And of course, yeah, that is really quite different. Using viol is not an instrument that Bach used often, but when he used it to great effect. So to have the bass viol solo, um, which is really the emotional apex of the work, is also a wonderful thing. What was good too is that we didn't just have the lute; we had a Baroque lute, an instrument that is particularly exotic, certainly in Western Canada. And it was great that Esteban was able to treat us that way with his many, many instruments to decide to use an instrument that Bach actually used for that particular masterwork. So the transparency of all of these colors is absolutely wonderful and gorgeous.
Well, what emerged for me, and of course we hear it in recordings, but actually to to be in front of it live and interact, is the brilliant orchestrating that Bach did. I mean, we think of, oh, there's very few instruments involved. Well, the colors of these individual instruments, along with the orchestration and the voicing, creates such a variety within a larger work that you get these arches, and you are immediately drawn to certain sounds of you know the the solo instrument with the solo voice. I mean, it's an incredible orchestration that takes you on a real journey, and I often describe it as spotlighting, right? So we go from the large picture to these little spotlight moments where it really feels like there is a spotlight shining on one or two people, and that was what I really took from this performance as well.
I'm a professional orchestrator as well. I do that for a living, and yes, I can certainly say with great authority that some of these great composers in the Baroque period were great orchestrators in their own right. Um, they knew exactly how to use each individual instrument and also how to blend them. And of course, using period instruments, that's when we realize how much easier it is to blend some of these colors using the instruments that were used at the time. And the same can be said of Handel. I know that you conducted with Rosa Alexander's Feast, and it's the same thing. He uses a great palette of colors throughout, and he uses for the best effect at all times. And sometimes it really is like the smallest possible means for the greatest possible effect. And if there's one important thing to learn in orchestration, that's exactly that. How can I use the smallest possible means to have the greatest possible effect? And St. John Passion is absolutely remarkable that way. It's such a, it's often compared to, of course, the St. Matthew Passion, which is more philosophical and much longer. But this dramatic pocket battleship
Yes, right.
aspect of the St. John makes these color changes that much more dramatic and effective, in my opinion.
Um, Thank you, Claude. We want to let the music speak too, but we just thought it would be a nice way to segue into this. So, I want to thank you again for all the effort you put into that project last year because it still rings for me and it will for the rest of my time and career and life. Um, so we look forward to the next collaboration, whatever that may be. And we've talked about many things, and something will happen. We just have to wait for the right time. Um,
You're welcome to perform at our group anytime.
yeah.
It's a wonderful thrill for me to sit in the audience whenever you take over and to hear all of these wonderful musical ideas.
You always hear differently, don't you, when you're sitting with when we aren't waving our arms, we all hear differently, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no.
Um, I should just say a big thank you to all the guest artists as well. We had a really wonderful mixture of soloists from afar, Canadian, American, and also local. And I thought that was one of the wonderful things about the performance, the nice, really nice mixture of these great talents. So all the soloists and all the orchestra, as well as the choir, have all consented to releasing this recording for a week or just over a week. So please enjoy Bach St. John Passion. And thanks especially to our donors and supporters too. We'll have all of them listed on another page. Take care, Claude.
Take care, Tim. Till
Thank
next
you.
time.
Bye.